Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name is Steven and I'm one of the developmental editors here. Today I'm going to be walking you through the writing template and helping you help your students maximize their effectiveness when writing and to break down those kind of big, intimidating numbers into something that is smaller, more bite-sized, and something that's a little bit easier to manage. It'll also, if they apply it, save you time while you edit, and it will save them time later on when they edit. So ultimately, it's a win-win for everybody. So without any further ado, let's dive in. All right, guys. So the first thing that you're going to need to address with your students is they need to actually use this template in order for it to work. Simply moving it and copying it and putting it into their folder doesn't actually do anything. Now, you know that and I know that, but sometimes you really have to wonder if they know that. So make sure when you are talking to them, whether it's your first call or the second call, make sure that you address this with them, that A, you need to use it if you want it to work. B, it is going to work for them because it helps them figure out their own writing style. It's not about following some magic formula of someone else. It's actually a very simple breakdown of how to figure out how they write. This is going to do two things. First, it's going to help you set realistic expectations for them. And it is going to help them realize that, oh, writing this amount of words isn't actually as scary as I thought it was going to be, because look at the word count that I have to do. It is so much easier. Now, where you're going to start off is with words per hour. And this is exactly what it sounds like. They need to schedule and time 1 hour for this exercise. That's all they have to do. And then they're going to write down as much as they can in that hour. And you have to stress the fact that there is no right or wrong for this. It does not matter what the end number is. All that matters is that they simply do it. Everyone is going to have their a different number. So no worries there. You can fudge it a little bit if it's 30 minutes that they have, but I really try and stress to them, take an hour and just get it done. So once they have gotten that figured out, you're going to move on to their total word count goal. Now, this is important so that way they're not shooting for some quote mystical ending and they're just like lost in the netherverse of writing. We know that 50,000 words is the goal that they have to shoot for, and we realize that 90 days is approximately how much time we have to spend with them in total. So that looks like 556 words per day, or 3,892 words per week. Now, when we tell the students that it breaks down in this way, they may be slightly terrified. Like, holy crap, I can't possibly do 3,800 words in a week. It's too much. When we break it down, it's actually very simple for them to understand. So first, we have to set goals. Now, this is speaking specifically to chapter lengths. You can kind of take this and tweak it and maneuver it to fit into the nugget writing. But primarily, this is for the people who are going to be utilizing writing in Quip, writing in Word, writing in Google Docs, something to that effect. And this is what it's designed for. Now, When they get to the chapter length goals, this is primarily where you want them to live, in this 1,500 words to 2,500 words range. The reason for this is that it equates out to anywhere between a 7 to 10 minute read time for just reading. That's not including editing. However, what I've found is that on chapters that are approximately this length, I'm spending anywhere between 30 minutes on a 2,500 word chapter to maybe 15 to 20 minutes editing a 1,500 word chapter. It is a smaller word count, which allows you to get through more edits. This is what I try and stress to my students, is that it does not matter come green light if they have 30,000 words in 3 chapters, but the rest of the chapters aren't written yet, then I am really not going to be much use to them. And neither will you, if we're honest, because we don't have enough of the story to go by. Doing it this way, creating smaller chapter goals, allows us to get through more of the story. This is what I try and stress to the students, is that the more I can get through, and the faster we get to the end, the closer we get to the end, the more feedback I'm going to be able to give you to take into revisions. The other really cool part about that is that when you have these smaller word counts, you can let them know that when it comes to revisions, you're probably going to average for a chapter length anywhere between the 2,500 and 3,500 word count. So they're actually going to be adding quite a bit to some of these chapters. Not all, but many of them. And so it's helpful for them to understand that, like, oh, okay, I don't have to get everything in here right this second. I don't have to spend countless hours revising the same document. I can actually take this, get through, make it to revision, and then do all the additional stuff there. Will all of them do that? Probably not. Is it still worth a shot? Absolutely. The next thing is that it creates this spectrum in which their creativity can flow. So anywhere between the 0 and 1,500 word mark, the brain is able to just kind of go into full-on creative mode. The brain loves certain boundaries. Too small, and it's squelched. Too big, it's too overwhelmed. So you give it a nice small spectrum in which to work. It allows it to be more productive. Now, as the students get closer to this 1,500 word mark, what happens is that their brain naturally, especially over time, gets this, how do I want to end this thought rolling? In doing so, when they figure out, okay, this is roughly how I want to do it, I want to end it in this way, I'm going to need approximately X amount of words to do that, and I have a range to work with. This creates a very natural beginning, middle, and an end to most chapters. So if they can really hone in on this, it is going to benefit them immensely. So make sure that when you're talking to them, you really kind of stress for chapters, for those who are writing chapters, 15 to 2,500 words is the sweet spot for a first draft chapter length, not for a full-on book length first draft. Now, for those who are doing the nugget writing, this also can apply a little bit. If you can say, hey, I'm wanting at least 500 words per nugget to help give me enough context for me to really give you proper feedback. Then you can set that limit and say, okay, I want a nugget the size of 500 to 1,000 words. I've also done this with students and they found it incredibly helpful and they were still able to get stuff to me. And what they ended up finding was that many of them ended up writing more anyway because they were being productive and their brain was going and they were enjoying writing. So if you have a nugget writer or someone who works in bits and pieces, ask them for at least 500 to 1,000 for that piece. You need the context. If it's 200 words, if it's 100 words, that's not enough. Next, they need to figure out the hours that they can write. Now, what I will typically do is, because I have my calendar color-coded and blocked out, I will show them an example of what it looks like to block out their time. I set reoccurring ones for things that I know are going to happen every single day, every single week. And then I block out the rest of it with the stuff that I know may or may not end up happening. Meetings, calls, things of that nature. I show them this because I then show them the gaps where I don't have anything scheduled. And I give them and use that as an example for finding the time that they can actually go and write. Because if they block out all of their time, rather than saying, well, I just haven't been able to find it, it leaves them no excuse. Because they will actually see exactly where they do have time. And when you maximize this and you help them do this, it builds in consistency. And what I usually tell my students is that if you have one day a week that works best for you to write, mark it down. Put time there to write. If you're only writing one day a week, but you have 6 hours to do it, what better time? If you're working through your day and you realize, crap, well, I'd like to really write, but I don't have time to do that, so now I feel bad, and it gets into this negative cycle, which you don't want them to get into. And if they start scheduling out 2, 3, 4 weeks down the road, it helps them build their days around writing rather than trying to squeeze it in there. The next part is looking at and breaking down the chapters. So let's say your author needs 3,000 words a week or a little over. You divide that and make it into 2 chapters. So in this example, I need to write a 3,000 word chapter. So instead of doing that, I'm actually going to write 2 smaller chapters at 1,500 words. And I know that I write approximately 700 words an hour if I'm having to process things and I don't know exactly what it is that I'm going to write. That means I'm going to need at least 2.5 hours in order to write a single chapter. I always round up because you just never know what's going to happen. But if you help your students understand this, like you can write a complete chapter or a complete nugget within a certain time frame, ultimately that's going to be more productive. And the more productive that your authors are, the better they're going to do, because they are going to feel more confident and they are going to feel more fulfilled and satisfied with the fact that they are accomplishing a goal, one that you can give them. So as you're going through and you're having your conversations with the authors, make sure that you're talking to them about how awesome it will be when they sit down and they can write a complete chapter. Now, more often than not, I'm looking for anywhere between 2 and 3 chapters every single week. And in doing that and in helping my authors figure out exactly how many words an hour they can write, how many hours they have available each week to write, and what their number is and how long it's going to take them to write that chapter, what they can see is building a consistent schedule around their writing style. Ultimately, what this boils down to is that you're helping them find their author voice. And that is probably one of the most important things that you, as an editor, coach, and therapist, technically speaking, can do for these authors, is to help them find their author voice. So if you guys have any additional questions about this, please make sure and feel free to reach out. Thank you guys so much, and good luck.